Hey everyone, and welcome back to the greenhouse. This is actually the November 2017 update. I know it's a little bit late, but I thought I would put it up anyway just to show you what was happening in November. I did get a very sweet message from one of my viewers who wrote that she misses all of the orchid hauls and the greenhouse updates that I used to post. And I know I've been kind of lazy in posting, so I'm trying my very best to post these guys up, or these videos up. And it's been pretty hard to go out into the greenhouse because it's so cold and dark. And we have sunny days, but I work very long hours, so I'm not able to get out there when it's sunny. It's only on the weekends that I get to go out and see what's happening with my greenhouse. So in November, the Sophronitis cernua actually bloomed. This is what it looks like. I actually have about 5 flowers. It's kind of hard to focus, but this one was the one that I was almost ready to give up on. I got this one about 3, almost 4 years ago, and at the time the seller said it was blooming size, which usually means that it's near blooming. So it's about 0 to 12 months close to blooming. And of course, it's been more than 3 years and it's finally bloomed for the first time. So I was really disappointed in this plant overall because I was expecting it to bloom 2 years ago, but it just hasn't bloomed. So this is finally the time for it to bloom. There's another flower back there, and by the time that I post this video, there's actually another flower that blooms all the way in the back. So there's actually a total of 5 flowers. The flower is really pretty, and I mounted it on this cork mount. It looks really nice on here, and it's been establishing pretty well. You can see all the roots that are attached to the cork. So this plant is overall a very healthy plant. It just took forever to bloom. And I really was just gonna sell it off because I was very disappointed in how it turned out. It just took a very long time for a promise of, a blooming size. So this one is something that already bloomed once for me, and I purchased this one about 2 years ago. This is the Cattleya guttata, or however you say it. This one is incredibly fragrant, really beautiful, just gorgeous blooms. Does not disappoint at all. The plant itself is really huge, and look at all the spots on it. So there's actually 2 flower spikes on this plant. So the back one is the second one. It looks a little bit shorter and it's a little bit newer as well. Overall, I have to say that this plant does not disappoint, not like the Sophronitis cernua. So this plant is just really pretty and it smells really nice. Overall, I love this plant, and I think that it's already overgrown or slightly overgrown in its pot. And I think it's in about an 8-inch pot right now. So I think I will repot it maybe next year, mid next year. I don't know for sure, but I don't think I will divide it. I want to see it grow a lot bigger and have more blooms. So I would recommend this one to anyone who's looking for a larger type of Cattleya that's also fragrant. This is a showstopper, and it has bloomed for me every year since I purchased it. So definitely a must if you want a larger plant. This is the Isabella pucella. If you're looking for an orchid that cascades downwards and has petite bulbs and also petite flowers, this plant is for you. It's very small. The bulbs are in incredibly tiny and the flowers are also very petite. So I grow this plant on a mount because they cascade downwards and the bulbs are very far from each other. So this flower definitely needs to crawl or fall downwards like so. It does not like to be in a pot, and if you're growing this in a pot, it would probably not work because it'll just grow all over the place. The roots are at the base of every bulb and the bulbs are very far apart. So this plant definitely needs a lot of humidity in order to grow well because most of the roots will be exposed. And I grow this plant on a mount, and then I also have some sphagnum moss on the roots of the ones that are attached to the mount. However, a lot of the roots are exposed, so you're going to have to mist this plant quite a bit. It definitely is better grown in a greenhouse where you can hose it off or mist it. So look at all the roots that are exposed on this plant. And this is a separate mount. This is a different one from the other one. I actually have about 3 of these guys because I divided them up. And the flowers are incredibly small. It's very hard to capture it on camera, and I would need a macro lens, which I don't have right now, to focus on all the different parts of the flowers. My cilantro or culantro is doing really well. Even when it was getting a little bit cold, I was quite worried about this plant, but so far it's doing okay. I do hose it off about once a week. However, the plant doesn't need a lot of water during this time because it's just so cold. And I keep my greenhouse pretty cold, about 57 degrees at night. I'm pretty sure it can go down even further, especially on freezing cold nights. But so far, it's doing okay with the heat. I have not gotten it out to cook with it yet, so hopefully it will grow big enough for me to cook with it, or else it'll just kind of sit there and look pretty. If you are into Laelias, this is the season for Laelias to bloom. I actually have 2 that are in spike. This one is already in bloom and another one is developing its spike right now. But during the semi-cold season, right now, they are all in spike. So I really like the Laelias because they're very similar to the Cattleyas, but they have these incredibly long flower spikes and they look so good on a mount. If you guys have ever been to Andy's Orchids or have seen his plants in real life, he'll usually bring a Laelia to a show or something, and you can see just how gorgeous they look when they're mounted because they just attach so well to the mounts with their big roots, and they look so wonderful, and then they put off all of these long spikes. They just look amazing on mounts. So if you have a Laelia, I would definitely recommend that you mount them because they look so wild and beautiful when they're on mounts. This one is in flower right now and I just have 2 flowers. I actually got this as a division and then I mounted it on this really ugly mount. I didn't have fishing line at the time that I mounted it, so I just got like a little bit of mesh fabric and tied it in, and it just looks kind of ugly, but eventually the roots will grow outwards. This is my Coelia Bella, and I've done several videos on this plant before, but this year it's definitely going to bloom again, although I don't have as many flower spikes as last year. So you can see that I've kind of neglected this plant. It's overgrown in its pot and it's having kind of a hard time pushing out towards one side. One of the flower spike is actually growing in the opposite direction because I actually stuck this plant all the way in the back, and I just recently pulled it out. But some of the new growths are already pretty big, so you can see that right in the middle there, that is a new growth. And then that thing that's sticking downwards that's actually a flower spike, but those bulbs in there definitely need some space, so I will need to repot this plant. I have a friend whose plant has already bloomed, and his definitely looks a lot better than mine because he's actually taken care of it versus neglecting it like me. Okay, that's all I have for the November update. There's not much going on right now because it's so cold. I haven't taken off my shade cloth yet because I'm pretty lazy and I don't want to go up there and pull the shade cloth off. I should though, because I can get a little bit more sun and a little bit more warmth inside the greenhouse. But it's been a really difficult time to get out of bed and do all the things that I need to do when it's so dark outside all the time. So anyway, thank you for watching and for all of your great messages. Thanks everyone. I'll see you guys next time.